Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto died after Sasuke's betrayal, and awakened as the god of carnage, technology, and destruction. Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. A blonde-haired boy of 13 could be seen sinking to the bottom of the ocean, a huge sword lodged into his side, due to the actions of his supposed teammate. The boy had stunning blue eyes that shined with an unyielding will. His skin was tan, and 3 whisker marks could be seen on each side of his face. The boy was dressed in an orange and blue jumpsuit, and blue sandals. This boy is Uzumaki Naruto and he was both drowning and bleeding out. All because his teammate Uchiha Sasuke had gotten upset that he had talked the enemy out of fighting, keeping the boy from gaining his oh-so-precious Sharingan. He, with what he thought was his last act in the world of the living, lifted up his middle finger and gurgled out, "You Sasuke Tem." He then blacked out, not knowing that his body had just been wrapped in a pure white shell of energy. Inside of the shell, 3 women appeared. The first of the 3 had long silver hair that spiked out everywhere. She had pale skin, that seemed to shine in the shell. Her eyes were this stunning shade of gold, that could make a dragon lick its lips in lust. From her head 2 thick horns could be seen poking out. Her ears were pointed and elegant. She was dressed in a light plum kimono with red prayer beads around her neck. On her lips was a light appliance of pink lipstick. The next woman had long flowing light-colored hair, that was simply regal. Her eyes were pale white, and had no pupil. Her skin was also pale, yet didn't shine like the other woman's. In the center of her forehead was a vertical slit. Poking out of her hair was what looked like 2 horns. She was dressed in a simple high-collared Heim-style kimono that was white, and had black commas woven into collar, and in the sides. She had a light appliance of purple lipstick on her lips, and her fingernails were painted a royal purple. The last of the 3 women had long black golden blonde hair, that seemed to shine with a supernatural light. Her skin was fair, and blemish-free. Her eyes were large green emeralds, her pupils shining red rubies. The strange thing was the golden arch-like things on her side and back. She was dressed in a white and dark gray kimono, that had a strange pattern going up the front. Around her eyes were thick gold lines. These 3 were Tsubasa or Shinigami, Otsutsuki Kagaya, otherwise known as Princess Kagaya or Cabot Goddess, and Kami, otherwise known as Arceus the goddess of Pokemon. Tsubasa, looking down at Naruto, gently removed the sword from his side. She then removed his shirt and jacket. Her eyes gained a cold fury, spotting the many scars covering his body, including what looked like the words demon spawn carved into his chest. She, turning to Kagaya, and spotting the appalled eyes of the woman, said, "He is your one shot at redemption. You see, 13 years ago I sealed the 9-tailed fox inside of him, due to Kami making a mistake during her paperwork, marking him as the Jinchuriki of said fox and my summoner not paying the price with his life. He was then subjected to treatment should ever go through. Tsukuyomi personally witnessed him almost being beaten to death 4 times. Amaterasu witnessed him almost being raped 6 times. I myself witnessed him be starved and he be crucified. What amazes all of us is that he hasn't snapped yet, nor has he been corrupted by the evil of life. No, he's still pure as the driven snow." Kami, realizing her mistake a few years ago, instantly started to paperwork to fix her blunder. She, gaining a happy smile on her face, said, "She just finished the paperwork, and now things can be fixed. Kagaya, you have been chosen to be his mother, as his true family left him to fend for himself in that damned village. Kami has been listening to request to introduce a few of your children to this world, and has decided to grant said request, by allowing the Pokemon as a brand new summon, that will go to Naruto. Don't worry, he won't abuse them or anything, in fact he'll probably see this as his family, or precious people, and protect them with his life. Also, could you maybe bless him with the powers of a few legendaries?" Kami, hearing this, smiled and said, "I can, but after Kagaya-san becomes his new mom." Tsubasa hearing this smiled and turned to Kagaya who was already kneeling beside Naruto. She gently touching one of his whisker marks said, "He is going to be my new Sochi-kun. Such a strong will, such potential." She turning to Tsubasa asked, "Besides informing us of this, and bringing us here, what else is your business here?" Tsubasa giggling said, "I'm here to give him the blessing of Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu, Susanoo, Izanami, Izanagi, Yami, Kami, and myself. As you know that makes all 8 of the eternal deities to give him their blessing which will turn him into a new god. Also to ask him what he wants to do with the Kyuubi." Kagaya hearing this nodded and asked, "How will I be turning him into my son?" Tsubasa smiling pulled out a very shiny and sharp needle. She said, "With this. It's been blessed by Kami Ne and Izanagi Oji. I simply get some blood from you, it interacts with Kami and Izanagi's power and hello nurse it's changed into pure DNA that once introduced to his system will transform him into your new darling baby boy." Kagaya hearing this rolled up the sleeve of her kimono and said, "Then please get to work. As I want to hold my baby for a little while before I'm forced back into that cursed prison my 2 eldest trapped me." Tsubasa nodding, stuck the needle into Kagaya's arm, and drew enough blood to fill the syringe. She removing the needle from Kagaya's arm, smiled when the red blood quickly turned golden. She then sticking the needle directly into Naruto's heart emptied the syringe. Removing the needle, she made the syringe vanish, just as Naruto shot up with wide eyes. He then said, "I'm up Haruno, don't poke me with that flaming kunai." He then blinked when he heard 3 very distinct, and very pretty sounding giggles. He turning his head gasped spotting the 3 women. Naruto was about to ask what was going on, when Kagaya explained everything to him, even who they were. Naruto blinking at this, smiled and wrapped Kagaya in a warm hug and said, "Wow, I must be really lucky to have such a gorgeous woman as my new mom." Kagaya with a tiny blush on her face said, "I am truly the luckiest woman in the world to have such a flatterer for my new and youngest child." He then smiling at her asked, "So I noticed you have the Byakugan like the Hyuga clan. Does this mean I'm going to get it too?" Kagaya shaking her head said, "I'm afraid not, but you will be gaining something much better." Naruto with a curious look on his face asked, "What's better than one of the 3 great dujutsu?" Kagaya smiling said, "The 4th unheard of great dujutsu. Allow me to show it to you." She then closed her eyes and pushed chakra into the slit on her forehead. Naruto gasped when said slit opened up and an eye appeared. This eye was dark red, with 6 large rings surrounding a single round dot. On each of the rings 6 tomo sat, making a total of 36 tomo in the eye. Did he forget to mention that the tomo were snow white? Kagaya opening her eyes smiled and said, "Behold the 4th great dujutsu Kaushugan. Eye of Chaos, it has all of the abilities of the other 3 dujutsu, but amplified. For instance the Byakugan can see almost 360 degrees in every direction, and can see the chakra inside of someone's body. It can see the chakra in the air, and allow you to manipulate the chakra all around you. Another for instance is the Rinnegan allows the user to wield all 5 of the elemental affinities. It allows you to not only do that, but to wield the elements and use the elements of light and shadow." Naruto hearing this said, "Whoa, that totally sounds badass mom." She giggling said, "It is baby. Now Kami-san has something for you." Naruto turning his eyes to Kami, gave her his full attention. Kami smiling said, "Alright Naruto-kun, I have decided to bless you with the powers of a couple of my more powerful exclusive children. The first will be Giratina, my little rebellious princess. She is the ruler of the distorted world, and one of the most feared of my children. Next is Moltres, he's the living embodiment of fire, and is capable of producing flames that put the sun's flames to shame. Then we have Articuno, my little ice queen. She's literally the coldest of my children, and can summon blizzards that could freeze an polar bear. Then we have Kyogre, who is said to have created the oceans, while battling her older brother Groudon. She's literally a titan of the sea, and when she primal reverts she can summon a storm that could flood the lands. Next to last we have Mewtwo, who is one of the most powerful, yet most awkward of my children. Don't get me wrong though, she can crush a mind or anything for that matter with just a thought. Last we have Zekrom, the Pokemon version of the goddess of storms. She has lightning in her control and isn't afraid to use it to get what she wants. She usually sides with the person with ideals. Naruto, getting an image of each Pokemon, felt like shitting his pants spotting Giratina, Kyogre and Zekrom. Mewtwo reminded him of a Sasuke, while Moltres and Articuno looked like giant birds to him. Kami smiling said, "You'll be able to meet and work with each of them, since Kami has decided to allow you to exclusive privilege of summoning all of my wonderful children. Do treat them with love and care." Naruto smiling said, "I promise to treat them like they were my own flesh and blood, and I never go back on my promises." Kami giggled hearing this. Tsubasa then stepping forward said, "Now for the last part. Otsutsuki Naruto, you have done something no mortal has ever managed to achieve. You have received not only the blessing of all 8 of the eternal deities but have earned their respect. It is with great honor I welcome you to the position of the 9th eternal deity. It has been decided that you will be the god of carnage, technology and destruction." Naruto hearing this felt his mouth open wide. He shaking his head managed to stand, and bowed deeply. He said, "I am deeply honored Shinigami-sama. I will try my best to not dishonor the 8 eternal deities." Tsubasa giggling said, "I know you will. Anyway, I have a question to ask you." Naruto blinking asked, "What is it Shinigami-sama?" Tsubasa pouting said, "First of all call me Tsubasa-chan, or Tsubasa-hime, or at the least Tsubasa-ne. The question is, what do you want to do with the Kyuubi?" Naruto blinking said, "Why does it matter what I want done with Jinx-ne?" Tsubasa smiling said, "Because now that you're an eternal deity she can't stay sealed in you." Naruto hearing this pouted and asked, "Why not Tsubasa-ne?" Tsubasa smiling at him calling her sister said, "Because she wasn't even supposed to be sealed inside of you in the first place." Naruto hearing this, quickly started to think. He getting an idea asked, "Can she be sealed in something else?" Tsubasa tilting her head asked, "Like what?" Naruto pointing to Zabuza's sword asked, "That." Tsubasa picking up said sword, tossed it a few times and said, "Sure, just as long as promises to be a good girl." Naruto cheered and said, "Yay, now Jinx-ne can stay by my side." Tsubasa giggling waved her hand, and a red orb floated out of Naruto, and slammed into the sword. The sword then transformed from a thick and huge blade, to a simple and elegant katana, with a blood-red blade. Tsubasa then gaining a serious look in her eyes said, "Alright Naruto Otuto, we have to go now. Kagaya has to return to the moon, Kami has to return to her dimension and I have to return to the cursed paperwork." Kagaya hearing this wrapped Naruto in a gentle hug and said, "Stop hiding yourself away baby. Show your true skills, and ask out Azuki Uago already. Trust me it'll won't end bad." Naruto nodding said, "Okay mom, I will." All 3 women then vanished. Naruto walking over to his new katana, picked it up and said, "Alright Jinx, you heard mom, it's time to pierce the veil." He then closing his eyes took a deep breath, and dropped the shell around him. Feeling the cold water hit his body, he closed his eyes and tried to focus on the power of Moltres, but was finding it really hard to focus with spotting all of the marine life all around him, including a hungry-looking shark. He finally feeling a raging burning inferno inside of his body, tapped into it. His body instantly lit aflame, and he swore he could hear the screech of a large bird. He crouching down, packing all of his chakra into his legs, prepared to jump. He shooting up, quickly breached the surface of the ocean, and was in the air above the bridge. He didn't know it but his entire body was surrounding in a cloak of flames, that had taken on the shape of a bird. He looking down, could see all of Wave, and a little beyond said country in each direction. He then focusing his eyes down, tightened his grip on Jinx spotting Kakashi beating the shit out of Sasuke. Sakura was trying to stop said man. Haku was being held back by Tazuna, who was being held back by Zabuza. The only person who didn't look like they wanted to rip the arrogant Uchiha to pieces was his utterly useless fangirl. He groaning wondered why and how did he ever have a crush on such a useless being. He shaking his head turned his attention to the rather large army moving towards the bridge, led by what looked like a midget. He knowing that this was Gato, smirked spotting the many ships the man had heading towards the bridge. He closing his eyes tried to remember the hand signs for the summoning jutsu. Remembering them, he scraped his finger across one of his larger canine teeth, and went through the hand signs. Slamming his hand down on Jinx's blade he yelled out, summoning jutsu. A few puffs of smoke occurred, and when the smoke vanished, on the ground were large light blue and red bipedal alligators, along with large dark blue turtles with cannons in its shell. Naruto activating his powers from Mewtwo sent the mental command to attack the ships coming this way, and that he was Naruto their new summoner. The animals roaring, jumped into the water, well the alligators did, the turtles, walked to the end of the bridge and started firing large jets of water out at the ships. He then dropping from his position high in the air, appeared in front of Haku. He dismissing Moltres' power, smirked at the wide eyes of Haku, Tazuna and Zabuza. Haku asked, Naruto-kun. Naruto striking the nice guy pose said, Yosh. The one and only, with some improvements. He then gaining a serious look on his face, turned around and said, Oi Kakashi-sensei, as much as I would like for the Tem to be beaten to within an inch of his life, you're gonna have to wait, as we have an army to deal with. Kakashi dropping the bloody and bruised Sasuke, turned to Naruto and gained wide eyes spotting Naruto's eyes. His Kaoshugen activated revealing his dark purple eyes, with 3 rings, and 3 tomo on the innermost ring. The tomo of course were snow white. Naruto spotting his reflection in Kakashi's headband said, I'll explain later sensei. He lifting Jinx onto his shoulder said, we have business to handle. He turning to Zabuza said, time to show everyone why you're called the demon of the hidden mist. Looking at Haku he said, you don't have to fight if you don't want to. Haku. He smirking at Tazuna asked, hey old man, got any sake left? Tazuna wondering why he asked this nodded and pulled out a large bottle of said beverage. Naruto's smirk widened as he said, toss it here old man, and you'll see something totally badass. Azuna tossing Naruto the bottle, blinked when Naruto uncorked it and took a heavy swig of the drink. Naruto's cheeks were bulged out, as he once again tapped into the powers of Moltres and Mewtwo. He speaking with his mind said, white fire style, fangs of the great fire dog. Everyone including Sasuke gained wide eyes when out of Naruto's mouth and aura 10 huge fire dogs appeared, snarling and growling. All 10 of them were made of pure white flames, and seemed to be alive. The largest dog howling, shot forward to attack the now visible army of Gato, the rest soon behind him. Naruto lifting up Jinx, said, let's cause some mayhem. Shadow clone jutsu. A poof of smoke later and 300 Narutos could be seen covering the bridge, each one holding up Jinx and coated in flames. Naruto then shot forward, followed closely by his clones. Zabuza smiling pulled out his backup sword and said, I really like this kid. He then charged forward. Kakashi lifting up his headband revealed his Sharingan and said, Hokage-sama would kill me if I didn't help Naruto with this. Besides, what kind of big brother and sensei doesn't help his little brother slaughter an army? Haku putting on her mask, said, I will help my first friend, and will kill my emotions to help him save Wave. She then ran forward intent on helping Naruto and the others defend Wave. Sakura was being useless and trying to fawn over Sasuke, who was glaring at Naruto with pure hate. Naruto slicing through a thug, jumped over another one, crushing the man's mind with a thought. Landing he kicked a man in his gut, making the man turn into a pile of still smoking black ashes. Naruto tossing a few kunai at some men, said, wind style, tornado slicing blades. Huge blades of wind appeared and started slicing through men, forming large twisters, that formed even more blades. He, spotting a clone jump in the air, watched it go through more hand signs. It then called out, "Fire style, Dragon Flame Jutsu." Another clone not far away cried out, "Lightning style, Lightning Dragon Jutsu." The lightning dragon hit the twister, made it start shooting out sparks. Naruto, spotting the fire hitting this, cried out, "Combination Jutsu, Raging Lightning Storm." The attack tore through thug after thug, spraying blood everywhere. Naruto, ducking, shoved a sharp kunai into the throat of another thug. Grabbing that thug's head, he pulled with all of his might and pulled out not only the head, but the man's spine also. Sticking his hand in the man's mouth, Naruto started to kill other thugs with the man's spine. Did I forget to mention that Naruto was channeling some lightning chakra through the spine, so the thugs were dying painfully. Naruto, then tossing the spine like a spear, shot forward with a kunai in each hand. Appearing behind a large group of thugs, he tossed the kunai at two thugs coming behind Haku just as the thugs all separated from the rest of their bodies. Pretty soon all that was left of the army was Gato. Naruto, Haku, Zabuza, and Kakashi were coated in blood. Some time ago the people of Wave had appeared, and everyone was now standing in a circle around Gato, who was being held down by some Naruto clones. Naruto, walking forward, turned to the people and asked, "All right people, what do you guys want to do with this scum?" The entire crowd screamed out, "Kill him." Naruto, hearing this, nodded and said, "Your wish is my command." He, signaling to his clones, who pushed the man until his head was touching the bridge. Naruto, walking over to the man, climbed up on the shoulders of one of the turtles. He, raising his left hand, said, "Gato, for your crimes a jury of your peers have sentenced you to death. There will be no mercy, no second chances. I, Otsutsuki Naruto, the god of carnage, technology, and destruction, am your executioner. Goodbye." Naruto then jumped into the air, and once he was high enough, lifted his left foot and cried out, "Taijutsu, curb stomp." He then came down and stomped on Gato's head, crushing it and causing blood and brain matter to explode everywhere. Naruto, scowling, said, "I knew that was a bad idea, but no, I decided to do it anyway. No, I've got to clean brain matter off of my feet." He then, turning to the people of Wave, smiled and said, "Wave, you are now free of the tyranny of Gato. The bridge can be built, and your first steps to peace can be achieved. Rejoice." The people, hearing this, started to cheer loudly. Next thing, Naruto was being tossed up and down, his name being cheered and praised, Haku, Kakashi, and Zabuza in the same boat. Naruto, laughing joyfully, said, "You're welcome." Kakashi was simply basking in all of the attention he was getting, and not being called a pervert. Haku was blushing, and Zabuza was scowling, not liking this one bit. Sasuke was scowling even worse, as in his mind once again the Dobi had shown him up and stepped out of his place. Sakura was scowling as Sasuke was scowling, and she already knew the source of said scowl. She, growling, said, "Naruto baka. I'm gonna punish you for upsetting Sasuke-kun." Tazuna, on the other hand, was happily chugging from his sake bottle, as he was extremely happy. A week later, Naruto could be seen staring at a rather imposing statue on the completed bridge. It was him, standing tall among a pile of bodies, jinx shining brightly in his right hand, and flames licking at his feet. His Kaoshugen activated. The strange thing about the statue was the mark on his arm. It was a large C, with what looked like little bugs crawling over it, and rubble around it. This symbol was what the people of Wave had decided his symbol was going to be, and the symbol they were going to worship was going to look like. They had even created some new clothes for him with said symbol in it. He was now wearing a open purple jacket, with black flames on it. On the back was the symbol in bright orange. On each of his hands were black metal plaited fingerless gloves. His pants were purple, with torn out knees, but seemed to be threaded back together with black strings. He had on thick black boots, purple strings making them his. Strapped to his back with a black strap was Jinx, his headband shining proudly on his forehead. Beside him smiling proudly was Kakashi. On his other side smiling fondly at him was Haku. Zabuza on the other hand was reading the words on the statue. Whistling, the man said, "This is the statue of our hero. He was drowned in the waters below this very bridge, and was brought back to life, gaining the powers of a god. Beware all that trespass on this land seeking to do harm. The god of carnage, technology and destruction watches over this land, the land of his rebirth, the land of his first slaughter, land of his religion." He turning to Naruto said, "Damn brat, they really took what you said to heart. You know that they're going to start worshipping you even more now, right?" Naruto huffing said, "Whatever. Let's go to Konoha already, before the fangirls swarm me again." Kakashi giggling said, "Welcome to the curse of the being badass, Naruto." Naruto, ignoring this statement, turned around and walked off of the bridge, walking right by the bruised and limping Sasuke, and the arm in a sling, and talking with a slur Sakura. Haku, who was right behind him, sent a glare at both people, remembering how the two idiots tried to take Naruto's power and kill him for refusing to give it to him. She then giggled, remembering that Naruto did a less powerful version of his curb stomp on the Uchiha, and broke Haruno's arm in 7 different places, then proceeded to shut the girl up by delivering a literally jaw-shattering punch to the girl's face. They had enjoyed peace and quiet for 6 days now. Kakashi behind her pulled out his book, already preparing himself for the earful he was going to get once they got back to Konoha. Zabuza, pulling out his own copy of Kakashi's book, wondered how Naruto was going to get him into Konoha. Haku was going to be no problem, but he was a missing ninja, a powerful one at that. Naruto himself was wondering how his little future genin were going to respond to their boss, Big Brother, being a literal god now. He then stopped and giggled slightly, already picturing the looks on the council's face. He right there swore to bring a camera to record the moments forever. Another week later the group finally arrived in Konoha, yet Sasuke was still limping. This time though he was limping because he tried to have his way with Haku, and not only did Naruto beat the shit out of the boy, but Haku made the boy sterile, and Zabuza was close to sending the boy to the rest of his clan. Luckily for him, Kakashi informed them that he was still needed for the Chunin exams. Naruto also said that the civilian council might flip out if Zabuza killed their precious Uchiha. Naruto, once inside of the village, led Zabuza and Haku to the Hokage's office, Kakashi behind them. Kakashi and Zabuza noticed something though. The people in the village was looking at Naruto with wide eyes, some of them even looking at him with respect. The closer they got to the Hokage tower, the more people started to do it. Haku soon picked up on it, and narrowed her eyes, wondering what was going on. Naruto was too deep in his thoughts to notice. He was wondering how was he going to train his Dujutsu, as he couldn't even use any of the Sharingan properties, nor could he use anything of the Rinnegan besides the elements. He had full access to the Byakugan parts. Jinx was just as clueless as he was. She was also pushing him to learn some more sword skills, as she wanted to be used for more than a walking stick. Arriving at the tower, Naruto walked in and was walking up the stairs. Once outside of the doors to the Hokage's office, Naruto snapped out of his thoughts and gained a great big smile. He, kicking open the doors, said, "Oi old man, you might as well give me the hat now, as I'm back not from a C rank mission but according to Kakashi sensei a high A to a low S rank mission." Sarutobi hearing this smiled and said, "I know Naruto." Naruto hearing this blinked and asked, "How do you know?" Sarutobi, pulling out a little black book, opened it to a saved page and tossed it to Naruto. He, catching it, looked at it and gained huge comical eyes. The reason why was because he was looking at a picture of him coated in flames, slicing through a thug with Jinx. Kakashi was looking over his shoulder gaping like a fish. Zabuza was trying very hard not to laugh. Haku on the other hand was very worried for her first friend now. Kakashi then read, "Otsutsuki Naruto aka the god of carnage. Eye color, natural unknown, believed to have a unknown dujutsu. Hair color, platinum blonde or silver. Height, 5 feet 4 inches. Weight, possibly 160 pounds. Rank, Genin. Elemental affinities, Kanton, Futon, and Raiden. Summonings, strange turtles with cannons and ferocious bipedal alligators capable of taking down entire ships. Has a sword that has a blood-red tint, and seems to be just getting used to it. Genjutsu, skills unknown. Taijutsu skills, unknown, but known to have crushed Gado's head with a move he called the curb stomp. Ninjutsu skills, rather limited information, but knows the summoning, the shadow clone, a wind jutsu, 2 fire jutsu and a lightning jutsu, all being high-ranked. Can surround himself in flames that resemble a bird. Rank in Bingo Book, B. Note as the first genin to ever be put in the Bingo Book. He is a genin of Konoha. Naruto hearing this smiled and said, "Oh yeah, now you'll surely give me the hat, old man." Sarutobi laughing said, "Maybe when you're placed in there as AS rank, but until then no." Naruto pouting said, "Mean." He shaking his head gained a serious look on his face and said, "Old man Zabuza Momochi, and his daughter Haku Yuko Momochi are becoming Konoha shinobi, or I'll alert the Kunoichi population of a certain crystal ball that can pierce through anything." Sarutobi hearing this paled and said, "You wouldn't do that to your grandfather, would you?" Naruto snorting said, "Yes, if my grandfather doesn't make my friend and her father Konoha shinobi, and don't even try to call my bluff because I've got clones already in the village with several of the more powerful Kunoichi gathered." Sarutobi hearing this sighed and said, "I knew letting Anko keep watch over you was a bad idea." Naruto making a victory pose said, "Damn right it was, old man. Anko ne taught me everything she knows, along with Ibiki ni and Inochi-san." Kakashi giggled at the pale Sarutobi who asked, "She took you to the T&I department?" Naruto laughing said, "Sure did, claimed it would teach me to respect my elders. Instead it showed them how to get a prisoner to talk in 5 seconds. Last time I checked Ibiki ni was still trying to beat my record." Sarutobi's sweat dropped at this. He then shaking his head, pulled out 2 headbands and tossed them to Haku and Zabuza. He said, "Welcome to Konoha, and Anbu will lead the 2 of you to a home rented for you. Naruto, Kakashi, stay, there's something else you 2 need to know." Haku and Zabuza nodding left, of course after Haku gave Naruto a hug. Once they were gone Sarutobi sighed and said, "Alright Naruto, what I'm about to tell you Kakashi already knows. Please hold all of your questions until I finish." Naruto nodding, didn't even see when Kakashi put his book away. Sarutobi then said, "Naruto, you are not an orphan. You are Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of Namikaze Minato and Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina. You were born 13 years ago, when the Kyuubi attack. You have 2 older sisters, Kion and Akane. You have an older brother named Link, a twin sister named Naruko, and have a younger sister named Natsumi. Yes, that means both Kushina and Minato are alive. While you were away, they came back to the village, and not only did they announce who you really are, but removed you from your apartment. No one knew that they survived, not even me. I am telling you this, because they are in the other room and have heard this entire conversation." Naruto hearing this felt his mind go blank for about 7 seconds. It then kicked back on and he instantly felt a burning hot rage build up inside of him. He could feel Jinx pushing her chakra into her sword. He could also hear her roar about bastards. Naruto clenching his fist, tried very hard to keep a tight lid on his emotions. That plan shot to hell when the door opened and his supposed family stepped out with large happy smiles on their faces. He clenching his eyes shut, and gritting his teeth, was barely holding his rage down, but he knew Kakashi could feel his rage as the man was right behind him. Kakashi on the other hand wasn't even trying to keep his down, he unleashed the full brunt of his killing intent, and glared a hole into the family. Kushina smiling walked over to Naruto and said, "Hello Naruto-kun. How have you been Sochi-kun?" Hearing this woman say this, was it? Naruto snapped. All of his killing intent along with that of Jinx's flooded not only the tower, but the entire village. Every single living being was brought to its knees at the massive intent to kill. Sarutobi in the office was grabbing his heart, trying to stop the massive heart attack he was getting from the powerful killing intent. Kakashi was trying to catch his breath. Kushina was down on the floor with wide eyes filled with fear. The rest of the Namikaze family was faring no better. Naruto, opening his eyes, revealed his menacing dark purple eyes. His eyes now had 6 tomo on the innermost ring. The pupil was also slitted. He, glaring at Kushina with all of the hate he could muster, said, "Don't you dare call me that." Kakashi, shaking his head, reached over to Naruto and said, "Naruto, stop, you're going to kill the Sadaime." Naruto, capping his killing intent, stood from his chair. Walking to the door, he yanked it open. He, turning to look at Kakashi, said, "I'll be in the forest of death if you need me, Kakashi-sensei. Tell Anko nay this also." He then, slamming the door shut, walked towards the forest of death. Sarutobi, finally being able to breathe, said, "Oh dear sweat Kami. I've never felt such monstrous killing intent in my life." Kakashi, getting to his feet, said, "That was 10 times worse than the Kyuubi's, and he somehow managed to pull it all back in." Kakashi then ran to the trash can and puked his guts out. Minato, helping a trembling Kushina to her feet, asked, "What just happened?" Sarutobi, with an "Are you stupid" look on his face, was about to answer, when the door was kicked in and a glaring Anko appeared, with a kunai in each hand, and snakes hissing from her sleeves. She, looking around, asked, "Why did I just sense Naruto's killing intent, and what the hell got him so upset to unleash it?" Kakashi finished puking, wiped his mouth and pointed to the Namikaze family. Anko's eyes, landing on them, narrowed her eyes. She instantly understood what had happened. She, ignoring Kushina, who used to be a big sister figure to her, turned and asked, "Where did he go?" Kakashi said, "Forest of Death." Anko, sighing, said, "Oh great, now it's going to take me all day to find him. Damn, Brad knows the forest better than I do." She, turning to Sarutobi, said, "Old man, I'm going to need some money for ramen and dango." Sarutobi, sweat drooping, handed Anko a card and said, "That links to my personal account. Don't you dare bankrupt me. I still need to eat." Anko, smiling too brightly, said, "You bet, old man, I'll buy you dango too." She was then gone in a swirl of leaves, leaving a cursing Sarutobi behind. Sarutobi, shaking his head, turned to the Namikaze family and with a cold glare said, "Now you can start explaining to Kakashi and myself why you left him in this village." Minato, sitting Kushina down on the couch, turned to him and said, "Well, you see, it's like this." When it was finished, Kakashi was looking at Minato and his family with eyes that said, "You're the most idiotic man in existence, and I hope Naruto kills you, for his revenge." Sarutobi, on the other hand, was repeatedly banging his head on his desk. He, ending his little rock concert, he said, "Namikaze Minato, that is the most idiotic thing I have ever heard. You leave your son, the one you decided to seal the Kyuubi into, to the mercy of this village, all because you were terrified the Shinigami would come and kill your family for cheating it out of death. Not only that, but you trained said boy's twin sister to cage level and then decide to come back, after Kushina gives birth to another girl." Minato, with a sheepish grin, said, "Yup." They blinked, hearing someone snort. All eyes, turning to the door, blinked, spotting a bruised and dirt-covered Anko leaning into the door. She, with the eye swollen shut, said, "Naruto is going to kill you, if any of you ever come near him." She then, limping into the room, followed by a concerned Kurenai, plopped down in the empty seat and asked, "Kakashi, did my little brat really become a god?" Kakashi, shrugging, said, "I honestly had no idea. I was just grateful that he was alive. I forgot to ask him what happened to him." Sarutobi, looking at Anko, asked, "Why?" Anko, groaning, said, "Because like a baka I decided to entice him into a fight. I've never had such a thorough kicking in my entire life. I mean, at first he was just using his fist and speed, but pretty soon I was dodging swipes from that sword of his, that sliced through 7 trees. I tried to block one of his swings with a kunai, and my hand nearly paid the price for such foolishness." He then started slinging out jutsu that I know for a fact are probably B ranked S rank, and if they aren't they should be. I mean he damned near drowned me when he summoned a massive tidal wave. I got burns in places that fire should never approach. I'm pretty sure my nipples are still swollen from how much lightning I got hit with. My leg is still trying to thaw out from when he nearly froze my legs. She then popping a joint in her shoulder said, the craziest thing was that he kept vanishing and reappearing in front or behind me, before hitting me with an attack. Hell, I couldn't even sense him move, like he wasn't even using chakra. He even made me witness many different things. He made me witness him making me beg, scream and moan for him too. Kurenai put her hand over Anko's mouth and said, Anko, there are children in here. Anko, moving her eyes to Kurenai, licked her hand, forcing Kurenai to move it. Anko, looking Kakashi in the eyes, said, I'm just glad he doesn't have full control over his dujutsu, or I'm pretty sure I'd be in a hospital right now, instead of him sleeping inside of his room at the T&I department. Sarutobi, quirking an eyebrow, asked, you managed to defeat him? Anko, snorting, said, no, he damn after stomping a mudhole into me, and making me feel like shit, decided to sleep off his extreme anger. Damn brat fell asleep standing in front of me. Kakashi, giggling, said, be lucky he didn't curve stomp you, like he did the Uchiha brat. Sarutobi then said, so that's why he was limping. Kakashi, shaking his head, said, oh no, he's limping because he decided to try and force himself on Haku. Naruto broke the boy's leg in 6 different places, then kicked the boy in the balls so hard, he actually lifted into the air a little. Haku then made sure the little shit wouldn't be having any children by sterilizing him. Zabuza was oh so close to ending the boy's life. Sarutobi crossed his legs and asked, what about the Haruno? Kakashi, giggling, said, Naruto got tired up putting up with her and not only broke her arm in 9 different places, but then shattered her jaw with a punch. So I think he was holding back on you, Anko, or you'd be in a coma or worse right now. Anko, groaning, said, I believe it. Sarutobi was about to say something when his front door was kicked open by 3 kids, all looking like mini Narutos, hell they even had some orange on them. Konohamaru, spotting Anko, asked, Anko, nay, where's boss, and don't even try to fool us by saying that he isn't in the village because we felt his killing intent. Sarutobi, hearing this, blinked and asked, how is it that you 3 know what killing intent is? Moegi, bowing to him, said, Naruto ni has been training us after school. He introduced us to killing intent so that we wouldn't freeze up if we were ever came across it. He also started us on the tree climbing exercise along with making sure we understood a shinobi's greatest tool. Kakashi, hearing this, blinked and asked, what is a shinobi's greatest tool? Udon, pushing up his glasses, said, a shinobi's greatest tool is deception. Kurenai, blinked, asked, he told you this? All 3 kids, smiling, said, boss, big brother told us that. Kakashi said something like look underneath the underneath and that hiding your skills and powers from within the shadows was one way to deceive the enemy. Kakashi, nodding sagely, said, that is definitely something I would say to Naruto. Konohamaru, deadpanning, said, boss also said you told him something about Hyuga's always having a big chest and the quiet ones being the loudest in bed. Kakashi, hearing this, gained wide eyes and paled as the temperature in the room dropped drastically. Anko, somehow on her feet with a powerful glare in her eyes, cracked her knuckles and with a sickly sweet smile on her face asked, Kakashi Baka, you'd better not be trying to corrupt my innocent, darling little Naruto. Kakashi quickly said, Hokage-sama, let him read his version of Ika. Sarutobi, hearing this, gulped as Anko and Kurenai were now both giving him a powerful glare. He then witnessed Kakashi vanish in a poof of smoke. He nearly cried when Konohamaru said, if Ika is that orange book the old man reads all the time, then he let me read it too. Moegi, hearing this, said, hey Kono, let's go find big brother. Udon, somehow knowing that the Sudaime was about to be beaten, said, yes, let's go find boss. The 3 kids then left, ignoring the pleading eyes of Sarutobi as Kushina, Kion, Akane, Anko, Kurenai and the purple-haired Anbu slowly descended upon him. Minato, Link, Kakashi, Naruto, and a curious Natsumi wisely left the room. Later in the day, Naruto could be seen sitting on the stool in his favorite food place in the village. Jinx was attached to his back, as he stirred his ramen with his chopsticks, not paying attention to much around him. He was deep in thought, trying to process what he had learned. He was also slightly happy that he had unlocked more power of the Kaushugan. He could now predict movement like the Sharingan, and had unlocked the animal path of the Rinnegan. Sighing, he slipped a few noodles into his mouth, just as he felt someone sit beside him. Moving his eyes to his left, he let a small smile appear on his face, spotting Kakashi. Kakashi, ordering a bowl of ramen, said, "All right Naruto, it's time for that explanation I never got." Naruto, smirking, said, "Not until the others arrive." Kakashi, quirking an eyebrow, blinked when Anko, Ibiki, Inochi, Ino, Zabuza, Haku, Konohamaru, Moegi, Udon, Kurenai, Hinata, Guy, Rock Lee, Neji, Kiba, Shino, Uruka, Shikamaru, Choji, Tenten, Asuma, Yuago, Hayate, and surprisingly a perfectly fine Sarutobi. Once everyone was there, Naruto said, "Ayame-chan, close up the stand. This is something you're gonna wanna hear." Ayame, nodding, closed the shop along with Tsuki. Once everyone was seated, Naruto crossed his arms and said, "What I'm about to tell you is 100% true. No one interrupt me until I'm finished, and then I'll be glad to answer any questions." Now what Kakashi, Zabuza, and Haku most likely know that you guys don't is that during Team 7's mission, I was technically drowned by Uchiha Sasuke. During this time I was confronted by 3 gorgeous women. The first being the goddess of death herself, Tsubasa. Next was the mother of the Sage of Six Paths, Otsutsuki Kagaya. Then there was Kami, or the goddess of my summons, the Pokemon, Arceus. I was woken up by Tsubasa using a syringe full of Kagaya's blood, that with the help of divine forces, expunged all human DNA inside of me, and transplanted her DNA inside of me. This making me Otsutsuki Naruto. I was also blessed with the powers of a few of Kami's very powerful children. Finally, Tsubasa informed me that I was now a member of the Eternal Council of Deities. I did this by becoming the god of carnage, technology, and destruction. Sadly, she had to remove Jinx to do so, and for those of you who don't know, Jinx is the true name of the Kyuubi. Happily, Jinx was able to be sealed inside of my new sword, which used to be Zabuza's sword. I gained my Dujutsu from Kagaya, who is my mom now. It's the 4th great Dujutsu, that has all of the powers of the other 3. It's fully evolved from has 36 tomo, and 6 rings. So far I only have 3 rings and 6 tomo. This gives me the abilities of the Byakugan, and recently unlocked the predicting ability of the Sharingan, and one of the 6 paths of the Rinnegan. The Rinnegan, by the way, gives me full access to all elemental affinities. Everyone hearing this had wide eyes. He, with a smile on his face, asked, "Any questions?" Ino, shooting her hand into the air, asked, "What are Pokemon, and what powers did you get from them?" Naruto, laughing and sipping some of his ramen, said, "Pokemon are very intelligent beings from a distant dimension governed by Kami. They come in all shapes and sizes, and their power levels range from that of an academy student, to that of a tailed beast. Most of the ones that could rival a tailed beast in power are legendary or rare. I will tell you the powers I got from them. First, let me inform you that Kami-chan gave me the powers of only legendaries. The first of said legendaries was the Ghost Dragon, ruler of the alternate dimension of the Pokemon dimension. Her name is Giratina, and she has 2 forms. I think Kami-chan called her a rebellious princess or something. When I tap into her power, I can create rifts in the world, and teleport to a pocket dimension. I can also seal or trap things inside of said pocket dimension. Then we have the living embodiment of Fire Moltres, who can create flames so hot, they put the flames of the sun to shame. Kakashi, Zabuza, Haku, Anko, and Wave have already witnessed me use her power. Then there's her Arctic sister, Articuno, who could create blizzards so strong it could freeze a polar bear. Anko has had the pleasure of witnessing me using her power. Then we have Kyogre, who can create entire oceans with just a swing of one of her mighty fins. With her power I can create entire aquatic ecosystems, and if I tapped into her primal powers, flood the world. There's Mewtwo, who's very powerful, yet equally as awkward. She has power over the mind, and can crush a being's mind with a simple "though." With her power I can speak with my mind, move objects using telekinesis, crush someone's mind, and most likely turn someone into my living breathing puppet. Kakashi, Zabuza and Haku witnessed me use a little of her power. Lastly is Zekrom, who according to Kami is the Pokemon version of the Goddess of Storms. She has lightning in her power, and from what I've read from her profile under the summoning contract, can bring entire mountains down with a single lightning bolt. Everyone hearing this paled, well, everyone besides Konohamaru, Moegi and Udon, who were looking at Naruto with stars in their eyes. Haku asked, "If you're part of the Eternal Deity Council, does that make you the youngest member?" Naruto nodding said, "Yes, the eldest being Izanagi and Izanami, though I wouldn't be foolish enough to call Izanami-sama old to her face." Zabuza ignoring this asked, "Are you going to use the symbol the people of Wave made as your official symbol?" Naruto shrugging said, "I don't see why not for now." Anko asked, "Are any of your summons big enough to, I don't know, stop a raging Biju?" Naruto sighing said, "Size really doesn't matter when it comes to the Pokemon, but including Kami herself, 18. Everyone hearing this blinked. Kurenai asked, "You said size doesn't matter, why not?" Naruto smiling at her, making her gain a small blush, said, "Leave it to the Genjutsu mistress to hear that. Mewtwo can crush anything with her mind, including Konoha if she wants. Articuno can freeze entire oceans if so much as thinks about it. Darkrai can trap you in a never-ending nightmare if she wants. Suicune can blast you with purified high-pressure chilled water stream if she wanted to. Hell Moltres could melt you if you pissed her off, and the same could be said for any Pokemon." Asuma hearing this asked, "How many Pokemon are there?" Naruto blinking said, 720. Everyone gasped hearing this and shouted, "That many?" Naruto nodding said, "Yes." Sarutobi asked, "Do you want me to inform the council of any of this?" Naruto snorting said, "You can tell them all of this for all I care. There's not a thing they can do about it." Inochi groaning said, "Damn, this is going to cause one long meeting." Naruto laughed at this. Ayame then asked, "Are you going to let your teammates know this?" Naruto snorting said, "No chance in hell." Kiba laughing asked, "Are you afraid the Uchiha will demand that you make him a god?" Naruto laughing said, "No, I'd rather make out with Akumaru than do that. I'm afraid what the pink howler monkey is going to do once she finds out." Akumaru hearing this barked and growled. Kiba laughing said, "That's his point, Akumaru." Hayate coughing a little asked, "Are you going to let your god status go to your head?" Naruto snorting said, "Hell no, I'm still train until I drop, rest a little, get up and train even more. Just because I become a god, doesn't mean I'm going to let my skills drop." Guy gaining flames in his eyes said, "Yosh. Naruto-kun's flames of youth burn brightly. I must run 1,000 laps around Konoha on my hands until I catch up to him." Lee shooting up shouted, "Naruto-kun, you are now my eternal rival." Naruto, who had been sipping some more of his ramen, made the mistake of asking, "I'm sorry, did you say something?" Lee hearing this gained unholy flames in his eyes along with Guy. Both men then shouted, "Curse you and your hip attitude, my eternal rival." Naruto blinking at this, turned to everyone else and asked, "What the hell just happened?" Kakashi patting Naruto on his back said, "The other curse of being so badass, Naruto. Weirdas declaring you as their eternal rival and always challenging you to even weirder contest." Yuago asked, "Do you need help with your Kenjutsu training?" Naruto rolling his eyes said, "I was going to ask you, Hayate or no brows about helping me later, to get Jinx Nay to stop nagging me. Shikamaru hearing this smiled and said, now you see my plight. Naruto snorting said, no, Shika, women aren't troublesome, older sisters are troublesome. I mean look at me, I have 8 of them, and 6 of them are gods. 1 is a demon, and the last is Anko. Anko hearing this said, hey. Naruto waving his hand said, don't try to front, we all know that out of 8 of my sister you're the most sane, and that's pushing it. Anko pouted at this, while everyone else giggled. Konohamaru asked, boss, will you be teaching us any awesome jutsu? Naruto looking at him said, that depends on if you 3 can stay out of trouble, pay attention to Iruka's lectures, what elemental affinities you have, and if you 3 can climb trees using just your feet yet. Iruka hearing this gained wide eyes and asked, it was you who taught them how the tree climbing exercise? Naruto turning to him nodded and said, yeah, I taught it to them, to get them to stop bugging me. Iruka sweat dropping hearing this said, well, they can climb trees using only their feet. Shino pushing up his shades asked, are there any bug-like Pokemon? Naruto smiling at Shino said, Shino my comrade, there's an entire type dedicated to bugs, hell there's even a legendary bug Pokemon. Shino actually smiled hearing this. Kakashi then asked, are you going to keep putting Sasuke and Sakura in their place? Naruto finishing his ramen said, is the old man a pervert? Sarutobi choking on his ramen, glared at Naruto, when Yuago, Kurenai, and Anko all said, he sure is. Naruto and the others laughed at this. Neji then asked, what are you going to do about the Namikaze family? Naruto gaining a passive face said, nothing, as I'm no longer part of that family. I am Otsutsuki Naruto. He then turning to Sarutobi said, by the way, I'm gonna need my stuff put back in my apartment. Sarutobi nodding said, I'll hire a genin team to do so. Naruto snorting said, fine, just don't hire Team 7 to do so, or a certain secret will be told to a few certain high-ranked kunoichi of the village. Sarutobi blanching said, I wasn't even considering hiring Team 7 for the mission. In fact, Team 10 will be doing the mission tomorrow morning. Naruto nodding said, good. Until then I'll be sleeping at the tower, or maybe in one of the interrogation rooms. Ibiki hearing this smiled and said, speaking of, I finally beat your record, brat. Naruto hearing this quirked an eyebrow and asked, really, by how much? Anko smirking said, 1 second. Naruto laughed at this, and Ibiki gained a little black cloud over his head. Naruto shaking his head, stood to his feet and put his hand over his mouth to stop the yawn he felt coming. Shaking his head he said, all right people, it's getting late, so I'll see you party people later. He then walked out the ramen stand. The others finishing their ramen and paying up, all went their separate ways, some thinking about a certain blonde, others wondering how things was going to change from here. The next morning, Naruto could be seen walking towards Training Ground 7, intent on getting some training in. Of course he was heading there very early, hell the sun had barely even poked its head out. He arriving at his location, took off his shirt and jacket, placing them on one of the logs, he popped his muscles and said, I'll start with some push-ups and crunches. Then I'll do some sprints. I'll work on my hand sign speed while doing the sprints and push-ups. Gotta get them down to 1, so the Tem can't copy any of my jutsu when he does unlock the Sharingan. He then got to work, and before long 2 hours had passed and it was now 6. He standing up said, Lee, I know you're there, so let's spar for a while until it's time for you to meet your team. Lee appearing said, Yosh, I accept your challenge Naruto-kun. I will give it my all. Naruto rolling his eyes said, yeah, whatever, let's just go. He and Lee then vanished and an intense spar was soon rocking the training ground. When Sakura appeared an hour later, she was now perfectly fine. Her eyes widened spotting the damage done to the training ground, and 2 people locked hands inside a deep hole near the center. She in her delusional mind thinking that this was Sasuke finally putting Naruto Baka in his place ran over to the hole and gained wide eyes. Naruto could be seen standing there, sweat dripping down his body, his Kaoshugen activated and locked on Lee, who was equally sweaty and trying to punch Naruto. Naruto, gritting his teeth, said, "Damn Lee. You're really making me sweat." Lee, smiling, said, "As are you, Naruto-kun. Exactly as I expected from my eternal rival." Naruto then started to push more chakra into his body, feeling Lee doing the same. Sakura was blasted away by the immense chakra both boys were putting out. Naruto's being a dark red, almost the color of blood, while Lee's was the normal blue. Sasuke, who arrived seconds after Sakura, was scowling at this, not believing what the dobi was doing. Kakashi then appearing, blinked, spotting Naruto and Lee not too far from him. He wasn't surprised when Guy and his genin appeared. Guy, spotting Naruto and Lee, said, "Yosh. These two are stroking their flames of youth. Look at how intense Naruto-kun's eyes are." Neji, rolling his eyes, said, "Guy-sensei, stop speaking of the flames of youth." Ten wasn't saying a word, because she was too busy drooling at Naruto's muscled upper body. Kakashi, realizing that he needed to break this little spar up, said, "Yo Naruto. The fangirls are coming." Naruto, hearing this, quickly separated himself from Lee, appeared behind Kakashi and asked, "Where are those cursed beings coming from?" Kakashi, eyes smiling, said, "I was just kidding Naruto, because if they were really coming I'd already be gone. Now come on, let's go get a D rank mission." Naruto, moving from behind Kakashi, placed his hands behind his head and said, "Sure Kakashi-sensei, but we'd better not be chasing Tora again." Kakashi, now reading his book, said, "We're not." He then walked out of Training Ground 7, Naruto right beside him, followed by an scowling Sasuke, and an angry Sakura. 4 days later, and Naruto was chasing Konohamaru, Moegi and Udon, as he was helping the three with their speed, by playing a game of ninja with them. Sakura had said something rude, but Naruto had pulled a Kakashi on her, making her very upset. Anyway, the three kids had just turned the corner when the sound of something colliding with something else could be heard. He then heard Konohamaru say, "Ow, that hurt." Moving around the corner, his eyes narrowed, spotting some boy from Suna, with a black hood on that had cat ears, holding Konohamaru up by his long blue scarf. This boy had purple lines on his face that strangely looked like makeup. Standing behind him with a bored look on her face was a blonde-haired girl, with a huge fan on her back. The makeup boy, growling, said, "That hurt you, little twerp." The girl said, "Put him down, Kankuro, we don't have time for this." Kankuro said, "Don't worry Tamari, I'm just going to teach the little brat a lesson." Tamari, sighing, said, "Whatever, just don't get me in trouble." Kankuro, smirking at this, lifted his fist to hit Konohamaru when he felt the edge of a sharp blade be pressed to his throat. He then heard someone growl out, "I suggest you put my little brother down before I slit your throat, Sand Nin." Kankuro, dropping Konohamaru, blinked when the boy stuck his tongue out at him and said, "Boss just told you, punk." Kankuro, hearing this, felt his blood boil, but before he could do anything he heard Tamari say, "Kankuro, you idiot, I told you not to do anything stupid, but you didn't want to listen, and now the god of Carnage has his sword at not only your throat but mine's too." Kankuro, hearing this, slowly turned his head and blanched, spotting the Kaoshugen staring at him. Naruto, removing his sword from Kankuro's throat, said, "You should listen to your pretty older sister from now on, cat man, otherwise your blood will spill onto the streets of Konoha." Naruto, turning his head to the tree, said, "Ikibi no Gara, I know that you're in that tree. Come out now and I won't show you just why a tanuki should never anger a dragon." Both Sand siblings' eyes widened when Gara appeared, bowed low in front of Naruto. Gara said, "Forgive me, my lord. I had no idea or intention to anger you. My idiot teammate also apologizes for getting in the way of your game with your little brother." Naruto, blinking, said, "Yeah, whatever." He then, turning to Konohamaru, said, "All right Kono, because of your failure at not being aware of your surroundings, the three of you now have to play a game of dodge with Anko, after listening to Iruka's lecture about awareness." All three kids groaned hearing this, and walked towards the academy. Naruto, walking behind them to make sure they got the academy, turned to the Sand siblings and said, I look forward to meeting you three in the Chunin exams. Until then, Tamari of the desert, Kankuro of the puppets, and Gaara of the desert. He then walked around the corner, missing the wide eyes of Kankuro, the smile on Gaara's face, and the small blush on Temari's face. He, arriving at the bridge for his team meeting, wasn't surprised to find Sakura there pestering Sasuke for a date, while said boy brooded. Naruto, sitting down on the rails of said bridge, pulled out Jinx and started to polish her, ignoring the now screeching Sakura. The girl never shut her yap, and honestly Naruto wanted to curb stomp her, but Kakashi had made him promise not to do so unless she did something really stupid. Sasuke, on the other hand, he had free rein with. He had already kicked the arrogant pricks 6 times, and 5 of those times he was half asleep. He, sensing Kakashi arrive, stood up and put Jinx over his shoulder. Kakashi, appearing in a swirl of leaves, looked up from his book and smiled, spotting Naruto and the other two. He, pulling out 3 sheets of paper, handed it to them and said, I have put you 3 in the Chunin exams. Meet at room 301 if you want to take the exam. Even if you don't, I'm proud of you guys. He then vanished. Naruto, snorting at this, decided that he would spend some time with Yuago, or maybe Kurenai. Vanishing in a small blizzard, he appeared in Training Ground 8. Spotting Kiba, Shino and Hinata walking away, he wondered where Kurenai was. He, closing his eyes, tapped into his psychic powers. Reaching out with his mind, he blinked, finding Kurenai's mind not far away, trying to push some emotional pain away. Appearing beside her, he sat down on the log and asked, What's wrong, Kurenai-sensei? Kurenai, turning to him, tried to wipe the tears from her eyes and said, Nothing's wrong. Naruto, frowning, gently grabbed her hand and said, You know I hate it when you lie to me. Kurenai, hearing this, sighed and said, I was going to tell Asuma how I felt about him, when I walked in on him making out with Haruno Mibiki. Naruto, scowling, said, It broke your heart, didn't it? She, turning away, said, Yes, my heart feels like it's breaking into a million different pieces. Naruto, sighing, said, You can lean on my shoulder to cry if you want. Kurenai, shaking her head, said, No, I need to be a strong kunoichi. Naruto, rolling his eyes, said, Bullshit. You need to let your emotions out, or they'll just boil over at the most unfortunate time. Hence why Anko Ne and myself always pick fights with each other, letting us relieve any pent-up emotions we may have. Kurenai, hearing this, giggled and said, Is that why she's been covered in bruises for the past week? Naruto, snorting, said, She's not the only one with bruises. He, lifting up his shirt, revealed his chiseled upper body. A large bluish bruise on the center of his chest, along with a small bruise over his right rib. She, gasping, asked, How many bruises do you have? Naruto, laughing, said, Those are the only 2, because I've been working on my regenerative powers. It seems as though I can heal myself with ease as long as it's within 5 minutes from my last healing. Haku-chan has a theory that since I'm the god of Carnage, then if I slaughter an army of something like that, then maybe I'll heal even faster. Kurenai, hearing this, sighed and asked, Am I pretty, Naruto? Naruto blinked, hearing this, and said, Kurenai-sensei, you're one of the most gorgeous women I have ever seen. Not only are you intelligent, but you're a dedicated Jonin-sensei, and not afraid to put a pervert in their place. You have a beauty that most people would kill to have, yet you don't have a bit of arrogance inside of you. Your ruby red eyes sparkle in the light, yet when they need to be, can be like ice-cold lakes. Your flawless alabaster skin, that sometimes twinkles in the light. Your long wavy black hair, that could captivate the entire world. He didn't know it, but his sincere words was causing a huge blush to appear on Kurenai's face. He, turning to her, noticed the blush but chose to ignore it. He, smiling, asked, You wanna hear a song I've been working on, Kurenai-sensei? She, shaking her blush away, said, Sure, just as long as it's not perverted. He, smiling, reached into his pocket and pulled out his black Gibson guitar. He, then getting it ready, took a deep breath and said, I hope you enjoy this song, Kurenai-sensei. It's called Walk on Water or Drown. By Mayday Parade I don't own. Well, this hurts me more than I can stand to say. In just one sitting, you left the room so I can pray. So I'll pace the halls to see if I could find a hole in something, or maybe places to escape. Oh, but everybody knows this is the part of breaking down in anybody's arms. I'm reaching down and hoping this one's ours. God, please, please let this stay. And then I fell into pieces, and she fell into me, saying, play this song. It's been too long since I've heard you sing. You got here just in time to let me know I was worth saving. It's nothing more than for the heart, too proud to breathe, but I'm too scared to say the things worth saying. Who knew this trip would be this hard? As I'm looking to the sky to count the stars, I wonder if you see them where you are. I'm down on both my knees and pray tomorrow brings no pain. And then I feel into pieces, and she fell into me, saying, play me a song. It's been too long since I've heard you sing to me. And yeah, we all fall to pieces, but at least you fell to me. But this is a wrong night, so tell me goodnight and let it go. I stayed here and you just pray my head would clear and I'd stay safe. The pieces left, the love had changed, just saved everything. Oh, and everybody knows this is the part of breaking down in anybody's arms. I'm reaching down and hoping this one's ours. God, please let this stay. And then I fell into pieces and she fell into me, saying, play me a song. It's been too long since I've heard you sing. And then I fell into pieces and she fell into me, saying, play me a song. It's been too long since I've heard you sing. And yeah, we all fall to pieces, but at least you fell to me. But this is a wrong night. Tell me goodnight and let it go. Oh, Naruto ending the song, blinked, spotting not only Kurenai, but Anko, Yuago, Ino, Hinata, Moegi, Ayame, Haku and Ten all swooning over him. He sweat dropping said, okay, maybe I overdid it. Ino then squealed very loudly and tried to glomp him. He switching with a random log said, on that note I'll be taking my leave. Exit stage left. He then ran for his life, a group of swooning females behind him, one of them being a kunai flicking Anko. He finally arriving at his apartment, locked the doors, shut the windows, and placed a few chakra seals to keep people out. Sighing in relief, he took off his shirt, and placed Jinx against his wall. Heading towards the kitchen, he rolled his eyes, spotting the ramen bowl from Namikaze Kushina. He tossing it into the trash, reached into his fridge and pulled out a carton of orange juice, 3 eggs, a thick piece of bacon, and some carrots. He fixing himself a small dinner, simply ate his meal. Once done eating, he walked into his bathroom. Taking off the rest of his clothes, he climbed into the hot shower. Washing the dirt and grime off, he closed his eyes and let the hot water pour down on his platinum blonde hair. Once done with his shower, he turned it off. Walking into his bedroom, he opening his bedroom dresser slipped on a pair of purple Carnage boxers. He then walked over to his desk. Opening a drawer, he pulled out a small tube. Opening it, he willed the shiny substance out of the tube and made it dance a little. He smiling said, it seems as my nanobots are forming rather nicely. Soon they will be complete and I'll be bringing new technology to the world. He putting the nanobots back into the tube, corked it and put it back into the drawer. He then yawning said, it's time to get some sleep. He turning off the lights, crawled into his bed. The next morning he would roll over and nuzzle his face into the soft warm pillow his face was buried in. He then heard someone moan. His mind instantly kicked started, as pillows weren't warm, nor did they moan. Back flipping out of his bed, he got in a stance ready to kill the intruder. He sweat dropped, spotting Kurenai laying in his bed, dressed in black lace matching pair of bra and panties. Shaking his head, he walked into his bathroom and sweat dropped even more, spotting Anko and Yuago knocked out in his bathtub snuggled up to each other. Shaking his head, he brushed his teeth and took a piss. Walking back into his bedroom, he got dressed. He then walking into his kitchen, nearly face palmed, spotting Ino, Hinata, Tenten and Ayame all passed out on the floor surrounding his kitchen table. Shaking his head, he tiptoed to his fridge and opened it. Grabbing a toaster pastry, he grabbed Jinx and placed her on his back. He was about to walk out his door when he remembered his new invention to pass time and to help ignored the pink-haired banshee. Creeping into his room, he gently slid open his drawer and pulled out an iPod with black headphones. Putting it into his pocket, he then walked outside of his apartment, not even wanting to know how all 7 females managed to get into his locked and sealed apartment. He, arriving at the academy, rolled his eyes seeing no one there yet. Walking to the academy wall, he put the headphones in his ears, and turned to iPod on. Picking one of his recorded songs, he started to hum, "You have no idea how unproductive it is to fall in and out of you as often as I do. Lately I've been feeling gray, but today I won't wind up next to you." His was the day the Chunin exams began, and Naruto showed the world why he was the god of carnage, technology and destruction. 2 hours later, Sakura and Sasuke finally arrived to find Naruto with his eyes closed leaning against the academy wall, bobbing his head listening to his music. Sakura, scowling, marched over to him to make the baka acknowledge her and Sasuke, when she heard a deep, terrifying growl. She, looking around, wondered what had growled at her, when her eyes landed on something crouched directly above Naruto's position. Her eyes widened, spotting a black dog with a tan belly and paws. Its eyes were dark red, almost a crimson. From its head, twin thick silver horns could be seen sticking out. Swaying behind it was a black-tailed with a spade for the tip. Sasuke, having better eyes than Sakura, could see the silver bone-like fragments on the dog's back. He could also see the smoke rafting from the beast. Naruto, opening his left eye, said, "About time you two got here. I've been waiting for at least 2 hours." He, shaking his head, sat up and snapped his fingers. The beast, stopping its growling, hopped down to stand beside Naruto. Naruto, petting the beast, said, "Come on before I decided to let Mira turn you into lunch." Mira, wagging her tail, happily followed Naruto, a scowling Sasuke behind her and a terrified Sakura behind him. Team 7 entering the academy walked until they came to large commotion. Naruto, hearing Mira bark, glanced at the door and said, "Very good girl. Remind me to give you a treat later." Mira, barking, wagged her tail. Naruto, then spotting Sasuke about to open his big mouth, grabbed the boy by his head and hissed, "Keep your mouth shut, Uchiha, or I'll end your pathetic existence, and then maybe Makoto Hime will finally be proud of the trash her weakest is." Sasuke, hearing this, felt his anger boil, but decided to heed Naruto's words. Naruto, seeing this, let the Uchiha go, and silently walked upstairs, Mira and his teammates right behind him. Reaching the next floor, Naruto walked right past the still reading Kakashi, followed by a once again arrogant Sasuke, and a terrified Sakura. Mira stopped outside of the door for about 5 seconds to look Kakashi over. She, barking, walked inside. Kakashi, sweat dropping, mumbled, "Even his summons think I'm a pervert." Once inside of the room, Naruto sighed, feeling and hearing someone approaching him very fast. His nose catching the smell of flowers and strawberries, sighed again, knowing that he was about to be glomped by Ino. Sure enough, not a moment later, Ino was attached to him, nuzzling his face while saying, "Naruto-kun, I've missed you so much." Naruto, rolling his eyes, said, "That's funny considering that I saw you this morning passed out around my kitchen table, and again as your team entered the academy." "I, no," pouting, said, "You're no fun." Naruto, snorting, said, "On the contrary, I'm very fun. It's just that right now you're causing a scene, attracting unnecessary attention to us." Ino blinked hearing this. She, looking around the room, could see the many genin glaring at her. She, blushing, stopped hugging Naruto and said, "Sorry, Naruto-kun." Naruto, sighing, said, "It's okay, Ino, as the pink banshee or duck butt was bound to get their attention anyway." He, feeling a very pitiful amount of killing intent come from behind him, quirked an eyebrow and turned to find a furious Sakura glaring daggers at him. He was about to say something about this, when a monotone voice asked, is she bothering you, Naruto-sama? Naruto, turning his head again, blinked, spotting Gaara standing beside him glaring at Sakura, his two siblings right beside him. Naruto, turning back to Sakura, asked, "Did I offend you, howler monkey?" Sakura, hearing another insult be thrown at her, was about to punch him, when a low growl reached her ears. She, blanching, slowly turned to find Mira once again glaring at her, smoke now literally rolling off of the hound. She, gulping loudly, said, "Nope. I like being called a howler monkey and a pink-haired banshee." Naruto smirked at this, but sensing someone trying to sneak up on him, quickly spun around with Jinx poised at the threat's throat. His Dujutsu activated, was glaring hard at a pale and sweating Kabuto. Kabuto, raising his hand, said, "Easy there, buddy, we're on the same side here." Naruto, hearing this, narrowed his eyes and put Jinx back on his back. He then said, "Be very lucky, fool, that Jinx doesn't want your pathetic blood to touch her blade, or your head would be rolling on the floor." Kabuto, now gulping, said, "Alright, I was just gonna offer you guys some info if you want." Naruto, looking Kabuto in the eyes, asked, "Info Tell, what do you know of Temari's romantic history, the chesty blonde from Kumo's fighting style, the cute red head from Kusa's sensory skills, and the hot blue-haired girl from AIM?" Kabuto, blinking, pulled out his ninja cards, ignoring the blush on Temari's face, the questioning look from Samui, the hearts in Karen's eyes and Konan's eyes narrowing. He then said, "Temari of the desert. Let's see, she's had no boyfriends or girlfriends. In fact, she doesn't even have any friends due to her father being the cage, her brother being a demon, and her other brother being accused of being a cross-dresser." He, ignoring the killing intent coming from Kankuro, said, "Samui of Kumo uses the Cloud Headhunter Kenjutsu style, and is not known to use any style of taijutsu." Samui, hearing this, returned to her cold facade. He, flipping through the cards, said, "Karen Uzumaki has amazing sensory skills. Is said to be able to sense exactly what kind of chakra a person has from miles away." Karen still had hearts in her eyes as she stared at Naruto. Kabuto, pulling out the last card, said, "Konan of AIM, also known as the Angel of AIM, has an unknown bloodline that allows her to use paper with her jutsu. Is also rumored to be very close to the Amekage." Naruto nodded, hearing this. Sasuke, smirking, said, "I want to know about Otsutsuki, Naruto." Kabuto, smiling, pulled out a card and pushed some chakra into it. He, looking at the card, gained wide eyes, blanched, and felt his hands start to tremble. He, looking up at Naruto with wide eyes full of fear, said, "Otsutsuki Naruto, aka the god of Carnage, is listed in the bingo book as an B-rank threat. Said to have many different powerful bloodlines. His sword is rumored to have the very soul of the deadly Kyuubi inside of it. Has very powerful summons that have been seen taking down entire boats. This says he also died during your C-S rank mission. It is unknown how he came back to life, but it is said that he burst from the ocean shrouded in a flaming cloak, looking much like the mythical phoenix." Naruto, petting Mira, ignored all of the eyes on him. Well, he did, until he felt the intense stare of Konan. Winking at her, he smirked when the cold-looking woman blushed. Sasuke, with wide eyes, was about to protest all of this, when a large poof of smoke occurred. When it cleared, standing there reading an orange book, was Zabuza Momochi, a sword resting on his back. He lazily said, "All right, brats, to your seats, it's time for the written part of the Chunin exams." Everybody quickly took a seat, and Naruto wondered if Kami was upset at him or something, as he was sitting in the middle seat. Samui sitting to the left of him and Konan on the right. Mira was laying down at the front of the class, but still was searching for any threats to her master. Zabuza then explained the rules and began the exam. Naruto, flipping over the exam, looked at the paper, and didn't know a single answer. He, knowing that this test was about information gathering, tapped into Mewtwo's powers, and got the answers from Shikamaru, not even wanting to go near Sakura's mind. Once finishing his paper, he flipped it over and decided to read some minds. He decided to start close, breached Konan's mind. She was thinking, The Kyuubi Jinchuriki is a B-rank threat in the bingo book, has some unknown bloodlines, and his summon looks rather deadly. I wonder how Nagato will react to this. He'll most likely send out Kisame and Hitachi to capture or test the Jinchuriki. How he doesn't see that Hitachi is clearly protecting the boy from inside of the Akatsuki I don't know. Can't say I blame her though, he is rather cute. Naruto, storing all of the information he had just gotten, turned to Samui. She was thinking, so he is the one Raikage-sama wants me to seduce. Maybe he won't be difficult and I can just get this over with. It won't be all that bad either, he's really handsome, and seems to be rather strong. I and the others will track and defeat his team during the second exam. Naruto again stored this info for later. He entering Karen's mind, sweat dropped as she was thinking about how dark his chakra was and how she just wanted to jump his bones, and ride his dragon. Moving away from her he tried Tamari. She was thinking, I can't believe the god of Carnage asked about my love life. Does this mean he's interested? Why would he possibly be attracted to me though? I'm not all that beautiful, and according to Kankuro and Lady Chio I'm too brash to ever make a proper girlfriend. Naruto shook his head at her thoughts, wondering if he should kick Kankuro's first or demolish whoever this Chio lady was. He deciding to enter one more mind, tried Zabuza. Zabuza was thinking, Haku has her eyes set on Naruto. The way he attracts women though, it looks like she'll be in for one hell of a battle for his heart. Hell, I kinda feel bad for the kid with all of the powerful kunoichi after his heart. Naruto, sweat dropping at this, decided to polish Jinx's blade as he really didn't wanna hear anyone else's thoughts. Pulling her out from behind him, he pulled out the cloth and sword polish. He then started to gently wax the blade, ignoring the very loud and sensual purrs from Jinx. 45 minutes later and Zabuza said, "Time's up," brought pencils down. Everyone stopping their test, blinked when Zabuza said, "Alright, the 10th question is optional. If you take it and fail you'll never be allowed to advance in rank." Chose wisely, brats. Naruto ignored the many different reactions, but his eyes moved to Sakura, who was looking at him with sad eyes, slowly raising her hands. Naruto, rolling his eyes, said, "Oi, no brows. Stop making the weaklings piss their pants. You and I both know that you have no authority to do anything besides fail us from this exam. Now get on with the 10th question before I let Mira burn your oh so precious porn." Zabuza, hearing this, gulped and said, "Alright, all of you who chose to stay past. The test was about information gathering, and that's the reason why you were given so many points to cheat. A quality of a Chunin is being able to make tough choices. Now call off the doom-hound brat." Mira, who had been staring at Zabuza's book and building up fire in her stomach, stopped when Naruto said, "Mira-chan, enough, he gets the message." Mira, stopping her build-up, barked a few times and trotted over to Naruto. Naruto, then feeling a very familiar chakra presence approaching fast, sighed, pinched the bridge of his nose and said, "I don't know what I did to upset you, Kamine, as I haven't even met you, but I'm very sorry and I promise to never do it again." Zabuza, also sensing the chakra presence, said, "This probably isn't going to end well." Just then a black ball burst through the window. A banner appeared as the ball uncoiled to reveal Anko making a victory pose and wearing one of Naruto's shirts. Naruto, face palming, said, "This is why people tend to think that you're insane, Anko." Anko, hearing Naruto's voice, blinked and looked around. She, turning to Zabuza, said, "I knew letting you proctor this exam was a bad idea. You passed 87 genin, that's 29 teams of genin." Zabuza, with a twitching eyebrow, said, "It's not my fault, blame your darling little brother." Anko, turning to Naruto, who shrugged and said, "The banshee was falling for no brows bullshit, so I had to stop it." Anko, nodding, smiled and said, "No matter, the next test will cut your numbers down in half. Follow me to the forest of death." She then jumped out a different window. Naruto, sighing, said, "Troublesome older sisters. Come on, Mira." He then jumped out the first window Anko broke, followed by Mira. The other genin quickly followed the two of them, leaving behind a sweat-dropping Zabuza. Naruto, arriving at the gates to the Forest of Death, rolled his eyes, spotting Anko consuming skewer after skewer of dango. He, shaking his head, sat down beside Mira and started to pet her. Mira, feeling Naruto pet her, started to pant in happiness and wag her tail. An hour later, the rest of the genin arrived. Anko, spotting them, smiled and quickly explained the exam they were about to take. Sasuke, being his usual arrogant self, said something, but quickly shut his big mouth when Anko sliced his right cheek with a kunai of hers. She, of course being Anko, licked the blood out of said cut. She then made the most disgusted face and said, "Your blood is not tasty. It's downright vomit-inducing. I've had better tomato sandwiches." Sasuke scowled hearing this, while Sakura was seeing red at some bimbo assaulting her Sasuke-kun like that. Naruto himself was impassive on the outside, but on the inside he was roaring in laughter. Mira was not so dignified. She started to make a sound that resembled laughter. Team 7 then collected their scrolls and headed to their assigned gate. Naruto had already sealed the scroll in his right hand, while creating a duplicate that he handed to Sasuke. He didn't trust the arrogant boy with something so important. He had also managed to swipe another 2 scrolls. One being the same they already had, the other being the one they needed. These 2 scrolls he made Mira swallow, knowing that they were safe inside of her. He then waited for the signal to go. Once he got it, he blasted into the forest, Mira and the other 2 right behind him. He, in the very front, crossed his hands and whispered, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." 10 clones appeared without a single noise. The clones then transformed into identical copies of Team 7, including Mira. The clones then took off into the forest. Naruto then said, "All right, King Emo, Banshee, here's the plan. We head towards the tower, taking out any threats we may come across. I will lead as I know this forest like the back of my hand. Sakura, you will be behind me as you are the weakest, but have a sharp mind, almost comparable to Shikamaru's. Emo, you will be behind her, as even though you don't have them, you have trained your eyes very hard so that you could capture movement when you finally awaken you Sharingan. Mira will be at the back, as she is the second most powerful of the 4 of us. She will be using her nose to search out any threats coming from behind. We will also have a code that we recite to each other if we ever get separated. The code is, you told me think about it, well I did. Now I don't wanna feel a thing anymore. I'm tired of begging for the things that I want. I'm over sleeping like a dog on the floor. Imagine living like a king someday. A single night without a ghost in the walls. And if the beast shakes the earth underground, we'll start the revolutions." He, turning his head slightly, asked, "Got it?" Sakura, spotting his dujutsu activated, nodded, while Sasuke, with a scowl on his face, also nodded. Naruto, turning back to the front, said, "Good." 2 days later and Team 7 had yet to run into any trouble, and that's what worried Naruto. His eyes then sensing something let him know to get down. A huge gust of wind then blew over his head, and he cursed hearing both of his teammates be blown away. He, standing up, scowled, spotting Mira, growling, and Sakura and Sasuke nowhere to be seen. His eyes then moving to the trees, scowled again, spotting Samui and her 2 teammates, looking a little irritated. Naruto, pulling out Jinx, scowled and said, "Trust me, you don't want to do this." Karui, with rage in her eyes, said, "Shut up. Your stupid clones distracted us for 2 days, keeping us in this stupid forest and keeping Samui from doing her mission. Now be a good little dog and let Samui do her mission." Naruto narrowed his eyes hearing this. He, hearing Mira growling loudly, said, "Mira-chan, tear her apart." Mira, hearing this, let out a bone-chilling howl that could be heard in Konoha. She then vanished and Team Samui had to jump to avoid being fried by a ball of black flames. Mira, appearing on the branch they were just on, could be seen with fire inside of her mouth. Black flames visible at the corner of her mouth. Karui, pulling out her sword, asked, "What in Kami's name is this thing?" Samui, also pulling out her sword, said, "It's one of his summons, be careful." Omoi, with his lollipop in his mouth, said, We need to take it down now. Mira, tired of them talking, let loose a powerful stream of black flames aimed at Karui. Said girl, jumping, felt her feet warm from the intensity of the flames. She, landing beside Samui, rushed towards Mira, and just managed to make the dog jump back. Omoi also attacked in that instant, causing Mira to roll over on her back. Naruto, not paying attention to the battle, had his eyes to the left, as that's where he senses Sakura and Sasuke fighting someone with as much chakra as him. Scowling, he said, "Mira." The dog appearing beside him was looking at him with her blood-red eyes. He, looking at her, said, "I have a new mission for you. My idiot teammates are fighting someone with chakra reserves as high as mine with me wearing chakra suppression seals. I'm going to summon your pack. All of you are to go help my teammates, but don't get injured. In fact, I want all of you to mega evolve." Mira, barking, hopped back, as Naruto quickly summoned 50 more of the dogs, causing Team Samui to gain wide eyes. Mira, howling again, went through a small transformation, now having a silver bone-like spikes on the front of her body. Mira then took off, her pack closely following behind her. Naruto, once they were gone, turned to Team Samui. He, setting into his Kenjutsu stance, said, "Come and bear witness to the god of Carnage." Karui, hearing this, charged in head-on, ignoring the cries of her teammates. Naruto, dodging Karui's attack, kicked her hard in the stomach, forcing the girl to bend over and clutch her stomach. He then backhanded the girl, not even caring about the shattering sound he heard. Karui, hitting a tree hard, slumped to the ground. Omoi, hearing this, charged Naruto with Samui. 30 minutes later, and Naruto was sent crashing through a few trees, as all 3 members of Team Samui were now up and working together to take him down. Karui, panting, said, "That should take care of him." Omoi, also panting, said, "He's tougher than B-sensei." Samui, staring at the trees, said, "I can see why Raikage-sama wants his genes." Karui, standing up, said, "I guess we should go rescue the bastard so Samui can complete her mission." Omoi, nodding, said, "Then we can finish the job." Samui, sighing, said, "Come, let's finish this mission." What none of them knew was that buried under 7 trees Naruto was shaking with barely contained rage. Why was he so angry? Well, he was angry because some memories of his clone had just come back. This team from Kumo had defeated his clones, killing the Sasuke, Sakura and Mira hanged clones, then tried to rape the Naruto clone. If there was one thing that Naruto absolutely hated, it was rape. He then, hearing Jinx roaring to show these fools, and all of the others just who he was, could only nod. Lifting his hands up, he crossed them and said, "Kai." When he said this, a seal on his left arm appeared, and quickly vanished. With the removal of this seal, all of his chakra was unsealed, along with his form. He then, pulling out a tube full of bubbling red goop, uncorked it and poured the content down his throat. His eyes then dilated, and his heart started to beat really fast and really loud. His chakra then exploded from his form, burning the trees on him and the ground under him. Team Samui had wide eyes, spotting the dark red and black pillar of energy shooting into the sky. Their eyes widened when the literal earth started to shake. They then fell to their knees as a killing intent so strong it was destroying the wildlife appeared and crushed all within its reach. Samui, looking towards the pillar, felt her eyes widen, spotting a human figure standing in the pillar. At least she thought it was human, until huge horns appeared from its skull, along with a pair of dreadful-looking wings. She then watched as a thick tail appeared behind it, swaying with pure menace. She felt her bowels empty, when what looked like tentacles appeared from all over the figure's body. In the figure's right hand, an absolutely terrifying scythe could be seen. The figure then started to float off of the ground. The pillar of energy then started reducing until it was just as large as the figure. Team Samui finally got a view of the figure, and all 3 of them felt their blood run cold. Floating above the black ground was a majorly changed Naruto. His platinum blonde hair was now down to the middle of his back. His Dujutsu was activated and all 6 Tomo were spinning very fast. From his top lip 2 sharp glistening fangs could be seen. From the middle of his forehead 2 thick silver horns could be seen, glistening in the light. His ears were pointed, and seemed darker. Around each eye and his mouth strange blood-colored goop could be seen. His entire outfit was now made entirely of the thick red goop. A large capital C could be seen on the middle of the outfit. His right arm was now covered in the goop, but was now bulging with muscles. The hand was longer, and thick black claws could be seen on each finger. Said fingers were wrapped around a massive black scythe looking to be made of the spine of some unfortunate soul. From his back 2 massive dreadful black leather wings could be seen, the thick red goo on them also. His feet were now arched and thick black claws could be seen on each of them also. Swaying behind him was what looked like a tail fused with a zanbato. The zanbato part even had thick red goo spikes. Samui gulped again as those rage-filled eyes were set dead on her and her team. Naruto then said, "Foolish ninja. You have just pissed off the god of carnage, technology and destruction. Pray to Kami ne that you survive this encounter because I will not be holding back as your mission was to rape me." Quote, he then unfurling his wings, let out a bone-chilling, fear-inducing, prayer-inducing, "Run all the way to mama, run as far away as you can roar." Karui hearing said roar could only think, Kami ne? Is he really the god of carnage? If he is then Raikage-sama is going to need protection from his wrath. Omoi was thinking, goodbye cruel world. To think Raikage-sama would send us to our deaths against an actual god. He's gonna crush my lollipop and my bones. Samui was thinking, this isn't going to end well unless I find a way to defeat an actual god. Oh, who am I kidding? I-sama, thanks to your idiotic ideals I'm going to be slaughtered by the true god of carnage, and die a virgin. Naruto ending his roar said, get ready to meet Tsubasa ne. He then pounced on the poor team Samui. Samui, ducking under a swipe from Naruto's tail an hour later, was really tired. Omoi and Karui were out of commission. Karui was bleeding from her midsection as Naruto had sliced her with his scythe. Omoi's right arm was mangled beyond recognition, because Naruto had crushed it in pure rage. Samui herself was sporting some rather nasty cuts, that were oozing blood. The 3 of them had tried to defeat this new monstrous Naruto but had been completely dominated. What made Samui shake though, was that Naruto wasn't even trying. He was doing the bare minimal. She jumping just managed to keep herself from being burned alive by pure white flames. She dashing forward tried to slice Naruto, but he caught her sword with his hand. He then turning his head to her locked eyes with her, and Samui started to try and get loose. Too bad for her, Naruto wasn't having none of that. He reaching forward with his left hand, forced her to be still. Looking into her eyes, he activated his psychic powers. Breaking into her mind, he started to literally destroy her mind. He was shattering all her beliefs, all her truths, all of it. Samui's eyes were slowly glazing over. He then, sensing someone else attacking his team, growled and tossed the girl away. Roaring, he took off into the sky, leaving behind 3 very hurt Kumo genin. Samui, once he was gone, struggled to her feet, and stumbled over to Karui. Pulling out the medical kit, she wrapped Karui's midsection and stopped the bleeding. She doing the same for Omoi's arm, created 2 lightning clones and picked her 2 teammates up. She then ran towards the tower, knowing that her team needed healing and she needed to sit down and build her walls back up. She didn't know it, but Naruto had watched her leave with a smirk on his face. He then vanished in a poof of smoke, revealing himself to be a shadow clone. The real Naruto arriving at his team's location scowled, spotting Konan now attacking his team. He, dropping down from the sky, appeared in front of Mira and her pack. Said pack was struggling to stand from the many wounds Konan had inflicted on them. Naruto turning to Mira and ignoring the curious Konan said, "Mira-chan, you and your pack relax and bask in my aura. I will handle the so-called Angel of Aim." Naruto then turned to Konan, who with narrowed eyes said, Kyuubi Jinchuriki, you will surrender peacefully so that we can extract the Kyuubi from you and true everlasting peace can be achieved. Naruto snorting said, or you can scurry back to your fake god before I crush your body, grind your bones to pieces and see what's left to aim in a doggy bag. Your choice. Konan scowling launched a few paper shuriken at him. Her eyes widened when said shuriken were burned to a crisp before even reaching him. Naruto shaking his head said, wrong choice. He then vanished and Konan doubled over in pain. She was then sent flying back from a pure kick to her solar plexus. She crashing through a few trees got to her feet, just in time for a fist to collide with her face, making her jaw rattle. She was then kneed in the gut, and backhanded through even more trees. She then screamed as her arm was broken in 6 different places. She then gasped feeling Naruto's hand wrap around the back of her head. Her face was then slammed hard into the forest floor, causing a massive shockwave to run through the forest. Naruto then picking her back up, tossed her through even more trees. Konan struggling to her feet could feel that a lot of her bones were broken and possibly a few of her internal organs were bruised. She with blurry vision looked up and whimpered spotting Naruto slowly marching toward her. She forming a paper spear tossed it at him, but groaned when he knocked it away with his hand. He then vanished again, and Konan gasped when his face appeared an inch away from hers. His eyes locked on hers. He once again activating his psychic powers started to warp Konan's mind. He then backing away said, retreat to aim, recover and tell your fake god that he has drawn the ire of the god of Carnage. I am going to rip his head off, place it on a spike outside of my mansion and use it as a scarecrow to terrify any birds annoying me. Konan with wide fearful eyes, took off in pure fear going to tell Nagato just what he had foolishly done, and alert Hitachi of Naruto's change. Naruto walking back to his little group, walked over to the duck butt pushing Sakura out of the way. Spotting the curse mark on Sasuke's neck he rolled his eyes and said, of course Orochimaru would mark the emo with his Hiki of Doom. It doesn't matter as long as he doesn't test me we're fine. He then picking up the emo turned to Sakura and said, come Sakura we will end this exam now as we have both scrolls. Sakura nodding followed Naruto, who was petting Mira telling her how much of a good girl she was. An hour later Naruto was walking slowly towards the tower, letting Sakura regain her strength and Mira explore her surroundings a little. Mira sniffing a tree took a piss on it, marking her territory. Naruto looked like he was just walking, but really he was constantly expanding his senses making sure they were safe. His nose picking up the scent of Kabuto walked around the boy and finally reached the tower. Opening the door, he tossed Sasuke to the ground. He ignoring the screeching of Sakura pulled out the scrolls and opened them. 5 seconds later and a lot of smoke, Iruka appeared. Said man spotting Sasuke quickly asked what happened. Naruto turning to Sakura who without wasting a breath explained what had happened. Naruto then explained why he wasn't there to help his team out. When he was done, Iruka scowled and said, Kumo never learns does it? Naruto snorting said, nope. Now can we please be escorted to a room? I need to sleep and Mira needs her treat. Iruka nodding lead Team 7 to a room not too far from the main room. Once inside of the room, Naruto plopped down on the first bed offered to them, Mira hopping onto the bed with him curled up next to him. Sakura blinked when both were soon sleeping. She shaking her head climbed into the next bed, ready to sleep herself, but wondering what was gonna happen to Sasuke. Both were soon asleep. At that moment a bright light appeared in the room. A beautiful woman appeared looking much like Tsubasa except she had long flowing red hair. This woman is Kami. She walking over to Naruto's bed, gently sat down on the bed. Smiling she kissed the sleeping Naruto on his forehead and said, good night dear sweet little brother. Soon you will face many challenges including a battle with a member of your former family and a pale snake. Naruto as if somehow hearing her rolled over in his sleep and mumbled out, somebody's gonna die. Kami giggling placed a golden necklace around Naruto's neck before vanishing in a flash of golden light.